What's up everybody, Soul here with another Sword of Convallaria video, and today we will be taking a look at swords. I will be breaking them down, explaining how they can benefit your gameplay and help you and your team, and in which ways they can be useful. I'll be doing this via a tier list where I'll be taking 3 things into consideration, and those 3 things will be accessibility, viability, and utility. I've done other tier lists on my channel, so be sure to go check that out. My hope is that it is beneficial to you and offers you a different perspective on gameplay and Sword of Convallaria. With that being said, without any further ado, let's get right into it. First up on the list is the Beheading Machete, and so this is a legendary item at 5 stars. When attacking from high land, it increases your attack by 15%. That is incredibly niche. And then sadly, there's no characters that really open up this item and make it useful. And so this item almost never gets used. I've built it up a little bit, and honestly, I've just wasted materials by doing so. In my opinion, this isn't something you should invest anything into currently. And for me, it is by far and large the worst sword in the game. For that reason, I would place this sword as tier 5. Up next is the Ceremonial Knife, and this is an epic item at 5 stars. When launching a back attack, it increases your crit by 20%. So this is a pretty good item that you should have plenty of access to, and it should be fairly easy to 5-star. This item does fall off towards the end game. When you get more swords, it's going to be quickly replaced by the Void stab, but it still does a decent job up until that point. At that point, it becomes a little bit niche, and then you're not really looking to utilize this because that Void Stab can do the same thing better and from any and all sides angles. And so for that reason, I would place this weapon as a tier 3. Up next is the Cornucopia Dagger, and this is a legendary item at 5 stars. At the start of the turn, if the character is healthy, there is an 80% chance to recover 2 energy. If the character is dying, there's an 80% chance to recover 30% HP with a 2-turn cooldown. This is a really powerful item, and it's fantastic, and for that reason, however, it is not highly accessible. And so I wouldn't even recommend pursuing these weapons at this point in the game. They're not really worth it, in my opinion. If you happen to have this already, maybe built up a little bit, then it's fantastic. The likelihood of someone getting up to 5 stars is not incredibly high, and so I wouldn't advise anyone to pursue it because it's time locked. With that being said, I would rank this item tier 2. Up next is the Dueling Dagger. This item is an epic, and at 5 stars, when attacked from the front or side, your physical defense is increased by 25%. Being an epic, this is highly accessible, and it's easy to 5-star. Early game, obviously, it's pretty tremendous, but even late game, it can be really valuable, especially on those tanks. When they block, or their block is activated, they actively face the target, and so this 25% defense increase can be tremendous. This creates a big difference and allows those tanks to properly survive those really big hits that get into the thousands and in-game content. And so this weapon has a lot of utility for that reason. So in my opinion, I would place this item as a tier 1 item. Up next is the Ever-Burning Blade. This is a legendary item, and at 5 stars, after dealing damage with a single target attack, it gains a 100% chance to inflict Scorch on the target, which can be triggered only 1 time per round. Additionally, it deals 20% more damage to enemies with Scorch. This item is phenomenal. It's not highly accessible, however, once established and you have it, it's irrefutable. It is incredibly powerful to scorch enemies and give them a damage over time. It's really, really good on its own. And this is from any single target instance, mind you, once per round. But let's just say you have Flying Blade Arm Guard. This will proc off that single target attack from that trinket. This is phenomenal. And then of course in boss fights or in any kind of fight where you're dealing with those big enemies that are hard to take down, if you have any way to get them scorched or even off this weapon, you scorch them, dealing an extra 20% damage is massive. This is a really strong item, and it's very much worth your investment and grinding for. And for that reason, I would rank it tier 0. Up next is Guardian's Will. This is a legendary item at 5 stars. It increases your HP to 10%. When having a shield, it increases defense by 40%. That's both physical and magical. And decreases damage taken by 10%. So this item is absolutely phenomenal for characters that are able to utilize shields and put shields on them, or maybe you're running a team comp that is capable of utilizing shield. However, if your character is not capable or able to get a shield, then this item is relatively useless. That increase to HP is still powerful and nice, but otherwise you're not benefiting from it, and so I would urge you to use something else in its stead. And so for that reason, I would rank this item tier 2. Up next is the Newborn Blade. This is a legendary item, and at 5 stars, it increases your HP by 10% and grants bonus physical attack equal to 6% HP at the start of battle. So this is the only sword out of the epic and legendary category that gives you physical attack percentage up, and it also gives you that bulk, which gives it a lot of utility for quite a few characters. I love this weapon in particular on Dandelion. Anyone that you want to be hardy, bulky, and also deal decent damage is going to really benefit from this item. With it being so powerful and good, I'd highly suggest you build into it as soon as possible and make good use of it. And for that reason, I would rank it tier 0.5. Up next is the Senator Swift Sword. This is a legendary item, and at 5 stars, it increases your HP by 15% after dealing damage with a single target attack and inflicts move down 1 on the target for 1 turn. This is the highest HP percentage we get from a sword, and so that has some value right there within itself, and I think that makes it slightly underrated. However, that single target effect of reducing movement is really good for zoning and controlling enemies. I personally love this sword on Recruited Assassin. He's got a strike back, which instantly puts this debuff on those enemies when he makes contact and hits them. So yeah, really fond of this sword, and I rate it pretty highly for that reason at tier 1. Last on the list, and certainly not least, is Void Stab. This is a legendary item, and at 5 stars, it increases your crit rate by 15%. After using the skill, it gains 1 stack of Void. Void is an effect that increases your critical damage by 5% and can stack up to 6 times. Now this effect lasts for 2 turns. At 3 stars, the value of this goes up to where it lasts for 2 turns. If you don't have this weapon at 3 stars or higher, I don't know that it's necessarily your best in slot. You might be better off sticking with the Ceremonial Dagger. However, at 3 stars, I think that this thing overtakes Ceremonial Dagger in just about every way. You could argue that this does that from the very get-go at 1 star, and I think it does have a lot of value at 1 star, but I personally see Ceremonial Dagger still holding some benefit, especially if it's 5 star or so or close compared to 1 star Void Stab. With that said, this weapon is phenomenal to increase crit rate and to increase crit damage all within the same weapon is really big, and for that attack to last multiple turns is very important. We're talking about a potential 30% increase to your critical damage. That's massive, and anytime that is lost and that reset will set you back pretty decent, and you don't want that to happen. With that all said, for it to have the crit rate and the crit damage all rolled into one, this weapon is phenomenal. Cannot pass it, and for that reason I'd rank it tier 0. So with that all done, I want to say thank you for watching this far. I did not include the rare swords to this list. I don't think that they hold a candle up to the epic and or legendary swords, and so I just prefer to keep them off the list at this point. With that said, get down in the comments, let me know if you agree, you disagree, or if you just generally disliked, liked, my guide on these swords. Let me know your thoughts. I really, truly value your feedback and enjoy seeing the comments section in all my videos. With this video, we have reached 500 subs. That is absolutely huge. Thank you so much for all the support. I am truly grateful. If you enjoyed this content and you'd like to see my other tier lists, be sure to check them out on my channel. Please drop me a like and a subscribe. If you're interested in supporting me, I do have a Patreon. That will lead you to a Patreon only Discord where we will soon be hosting tournaments and other fun PvP events on there with hopefully some really decent rewards for those activities. Thanks again for watching. I hope you have a great one and you're enjoying your Sword of Convallaria gameplay. Take it easy. See you next time. Bye.